folks, how you doing? Dave McRae here. Good morning. It is Thursday, September the 17th, 2020, 11:04 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name's Dave McRae, coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. That's right, folks. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope everything is going well for you in the world of wherever you are. And Lauren Downing says, nice hat, Dave. Yes, this is, we actually have some It's Me Billy hats coming for the production. But this was sent to me by Dave Vanderhoff. This was the same guy that sent up the McRae Live hat, the Two Dudes hat. He also sent up a couple of It's Me Billy hats, which was very nice. And this is pretty much what the ones we've ordered look like too. Of course, ours though has a little bit of the blood on the B, I think. Anyway, I'll have to double check. But yes, this is thanks to Dave Vanderhoff. I said, even though we've ordered some for the production, I will gladly wear his proudly as well. So, because it's exactly pretty much what we've ordered too. So it works. It's perfect. Dave, again, thank you so much. Really appreciate you sending it my way. And so listen, okay, so on today's show, I want to, there's a couple things I want to talk about, and I just want to give sort of a update on the production of It's Me Billy. I know the last couple of weeks haven't really been talking about it. I've shared a few things on social media, but as I said when the campaign came to an end a couple of weeks ago now, I said that, or just over a couple, well, no, I guess it came to 10, 11, 12, 13. I think it was actually 14 days today, actually, because I think it ended on the 3rd of September. It's now the 17th. That was 14 days ago. And as I said, things were going to start to kind of get a little quiet a little bit because we were moving into pre-production now. The COVID-19 cases here in Canada, specifically Ontario, which is where I am, there have been some spikes. Nothing huge, but certainly there have been some spikes. So the only thing at this rate that would prevent us from going to camera at the end of November, which is what we're planning on doing, would be if there is suddenly a massive second wave. And then, of course, we would have to delay it into likely next year at some point. Hopefully, fingers crossed, maybe like February or March or something. But if not then we'd have to delay it a whole year because obviously we can't shoot this thing in the summer. We can shoot it in late November. We can get away with that, but we can't really be Christmas Eve in 100-degree weather. So we'd have to delay it, obviously. So fingers are crossed that we still, even if there's some spikes here and there, we'll still be able to do it. But we're deep into pre-production now, and things are going really well. Things are heating up. It's crunch time. The props are being made. Things are being shipped. It's really exciting. And last night we had a meeting with our DP, Greg Bennett. We were hanging out at Bruce's place, and we were there. God, I mean, we didn't leave probably till about 12:30 in the morning after midnight. I drove Greg back home. He lives on the other side of Toronto. Bruce and I live in the west side. Greg lives in the east side. But at that time, at 12:30 in the morning, the highways are pretty much, free flowing. So not a lot of traffic. So I didn't mind doing that, of course. And because he took the subway to get to us. But it was a great meeting. This is an image here of Greg and Bruce. There we are, Greg and Bruce. This is from last night. Greg, of course, again, is our DP. He's the guy on the left. Sitting in his lap there is the shot list. So he's just explaining to us his vision. We sent him the shot list and the script, I guess, last week in preparation for our meeting yesterday. And he's just basically what we do is we sit down with him because he's the guy that's going to be shooting this thing. and we talked to him about our vision, about lens choices, about stylistic choices, sort of, whether we want it to be on a jib, whether it's sort of, steady cam or handheld or, whatever the case is, right? We're sort of discussing these options. And in the shot list that Bruce and I created, which took us about 2.5 weeks to create over multiple sessions, we have broken down every single scene into shots. And in those shots, of course, there are multiple camera angles and multiple takes, and there's a master shot, and then there's close-ups, and then we'll shoot it from this side and that side, and then why don't we do this and why don't we do that? And so it's a very tedious process, but it was a great learning experience and a lot of fun to do. And Greg, of course, has looked over it, and him as the DP, and he's a professional DP. Again, for those who may not know, Greg is a total pro. He's a 2-time CSC nominee, which is the Canadian Society of Cinematographers. He's been doing this for 25, 30 years probably. Greg, if you're watching, if it's less than that, I don't think it is though. You've been doing this for quite some time. And he shot on everything. He shot on film, he shot, on the Airy, the Red, everything in between. So we are just... I can't stress enough how excited we are to have Greg on board. And I always mention his credentials when I talk about him because we're so excited to have this guy on board shooting the film for us and helping to bring our vision to life, because Greg is somebody who he's an asset in all facets having on set. So if we run into some problems or some, logistical issues or, whatever the case is, he's somebody that's been through this hundreds and hundreds of times. And he's somebody that definitely knows how to problem solve some things that we might not have thought of, right? So anyways, in this photo here, he's talking to Bruce and myself, of course, but I'm the one taking the photo. He's talking to Bruce and myself about his vision for a specific shot. And of course, we can't tell you what that is because that would give things away, but that is what he's doing. So that was last night. We talked, like I said, probably about till, I guess we left about 12:30 in the morning. We didn't get all the way through it. We got about 3/4 of the way through it. And then we got to the climactic moment of the movie, which was very intense. It's and intense in the sense of that it's you break these things down into all sorts of shots. And it was probably going to take us another hour and a half to just go through the climax moment of the film into how what we imagine. Now, that doesn't mean that when we get to set, that we're going to be able to do everything we've imagined. Because we also have to factor in time. One of the things that Greg is great for and valuable, and the value he brings, is he's very conscious of setup time. If we have to lay down dolly track and we got to get, a jib in there, we got to get that and this, that, and the other. He's very conscious of how much time that's going to take, and we only have 6 days to shoot this thing, the whole movie. So, and there's night shoots, there's day shoots. So it's that kind of thing where, his expertise and his advice in that regard has been great as well. And he's thinking, well, maybe we can't do this because that might take up a little too much time, but why don't we do this and we'll still achieve sort of a similar effect? And it's just that kind of thing, just getting to know Greg better. And Bruce has known him for years, but I've only known him for the last 6 months or so, 7 months, I guess. Well, since February. So 8 months, whatever it is. And he's just a class act. He's calm, cool, collected. He's excited. And then, of course, he's brought on his team that he tends to work with from time to time. So that's first and second assistant camera, who will be working with him. And then, of course, now we're in the middle of hiring our grips. And and it's just so over the next week or so, we'll have a production meeting with the crew. And just to make sure everybody is okay and everybody is on board, it's kind of like, okay, we're all in. Okay. All right. Cause we're just sort of solidifying that now. And then if everybody is on board and everybody is ready to rock, we'll send everybody the deal memo and all that jazz. And then this Sunday, We are finally, myself and Bruce are finally, again, pending anything crazy was to happen. It's only a few days away, though. This Sunday, myself and Bruce are finally meeting our actors in person. We've yet to meet Victoria, Shelby, and Malika in person. So we are doing that this Sunday. We've had a lot of Skype calls and a lot of text messages and a lot of phone calls, but we haven't met in person for obvious reasons, because of COVID and the lockdown and all that kind of stuff. So, but we didn't want the first time that we met them in person to be the day that we're heading to our location, right? You know what I mean? So I suggested that we meet for dinner this Sunday, and we'll just hang out and get to know each other and talk and just kind of, it's good to meet each other in person, talk about the production, talk about life, just sit and shoot the shit for, a couple hours. So really looking forward to that because, they are the stars of the movie, and that's going to be exciting as well. So yeah, that's sort of where we are. The shot list is done. The script was done, of course, a while ago. We're just going through the shots now with Greg over the next week or two. By the end of this month, at the very latest, we should have our crew locked, and solidified because, we have to. And then the month of October is just fine-tuning any last preparations for the movie. So that's wardrobe, props, all that kind of stuff. It's intense. I mean, it's not a Hollywood multi-million-dollar film, but the way we're approaching this, as I've said multiple times, is we are going through all the necessary steps and processes that you would go through. And we wanted to do that because, for the first time in my life, at 41 years old, I want to make a real movie. And I've made little shorts and things like that, but as you know, I've spent most of my professional career in the industry in voiceover. But I have a passion for film. I went to school for film. I've made little shorts here and there because I have this desire to do so, right? But nothing at this level, nothing going about it this way. So it's been a real learning experience for me, and a real it's been tedious, and I'm mentally exhausted at the end of the day at times, but I fucking love it. I love the fact that we're doing this. I love the fact that you guys have made it possible for us to do this. Because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be doing this. That meeting last night with Greg would not have happened if it wasn't for you. In other words, if the film was not funded, we wouldn't be doing this. So it's again, I mean, my hat goes off to you guys, who have helped to make this possible, because it's really exciting, the things we're doing now. And I have some props over there behind me that I can't show you that, you guys, you Black Christmas fans would lose your minds over. So, there's a little tease for you, right? But it's we're taking it seriously. And some people have asked me, can you say anything about the movie to give us a bit of kind of, and I can't. I don't want to give anything away, but I will say, and I said this a while ago, and I will say this again, that It's Me, Billy, is the unofficial, although it's going to look, it's going to look official, but it is, technically unofficial sequel to the original Black Christmas. It will, how do I say this? To get people kind of thinking. So obviously one of our main focuses is to preserve the integrity of the original film, so that, the theater of the mind, the mood of the atmosphere. So it's not a slasher movie in the sense of like a Friday the 13th, where there's blood and guts and gore. We're not modernizing it for today's audiences. It's modernized, of course, but we are paying homage to the original film, keeping the spirit of that there. I will say that it does answer questions about certain things, of course, while keeping the ambiguity there. But it answers questions, but it sets up a lot of new ones. And that was on purpose. That was on purpose, because you never know where this thing's going to go. So we're just very excited, and it's intense, man. Holy shit, is it intense? But it's been great. And I think one of the biggest compliments too is and I'm paraphrasing, but Greg, our DP, who, as I said, who has been doing this at the professional level for several decades, has said to us on a couple of occasions, you guys are great. Like you guys are prepared. You're ahead of the game. There's so many, because he would tell us stories about, you know, films he's worked on. I'm not going to say any names, of course, because I'll keep that private, but certain projects he's worked on in the past that haven't been as prepared, you know, over the years. You know, there's been a lot of people, and this is not, I mean, there's a lot of film productions that are, you know, some are really prepared, some are not. I mean, it's like VO. I mean, I've been to VO sessions where it's like boom, boom, boom. People are prepared. It's amazing. It's great. It's seamless. They know it's amazing, right? Like, it's professional. And then I've been to what should be professional sessions in my life, and the fucking people don't know what they want, and they spend more time rewriting the script than me actually reading it, and I'm there for 5 hours, and I'm only recording for 10 minutes because they're rewriting and calling and, you know, texting and emailing, and I mean, you know, and it's for like a major thing, you know what I mean? So, and that's just the nature of the entertainment industry at the end of the day. But certainly it was great praise to get that from somebody like Greg, who said that you guys are great. And I think, you know, I think that's part of the attraction, not just the fact that he gets to shoot a Black Christmas film, so to speak, but that if we weren't prepared, you know, and so, and that's important. I mean, it's very important to professionalism isn't just always about money. It's about how you handle yourself, how you carry yourself, your communication, your transparency, your honesty. That is all professional. You know, it's how you treat others as well. So that's, I mean, we've always, at least I've always known that. I think we always do. I think we all here kind of know that. But it is something that, you know, you're reminded of. So anyways, Greg, again, if you're watching, he's probably not watching. He might be asleep. We were up so late. Again, thank you so much again for your professionalism and just passion for this, because it's great. Really, really awesome. So that's sort of where we are with It's Me, Billy. We are still in pre-production, and we will be for the next couple of months. If all goes well and things stay on track, we should be starting to shoot the last week of November. So November 23rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, like, you know, in there. That's where we should be aiming to shoot. And if everything goes well, and COVID doesn't rear its ugly head with a massive second wave, and we actually do get to shoot at the end of November, you should have a teaser trailer this Christmas. You should have a teaser trailer this Christmas. But that's if we can shoot the movie. If we can't shoot the movie at the end of November because of COVID or something like that, obviously there won't be any teaser trailer because there won't be any footage. But an official teaser trailer. So we'll see what happens there. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is Indiegogo. And I thought this was a good thing to tackle and talk about because MJS Lawrence says, we want receipts, Dave. We want receipts. They'll be this big. I wanted to talk about Indiegogo, and I wanted to talk about, because somebody sent me a message about, I think a week or so ago, and I'll leave him nameless. I don't think it's anybody we know. It's not somebody that I've seen in the space or seen in the chat room here or anything like that. But it was somebody that sent me a message congratulating me on the Indiegogo campaign. This is, like I said, about a week or so ago. And they had started their own Indiegogo campaign. There's a lot of Indiegogo campaigns out there for all sorts of things. And they were a little frustrated because I think they were 6 weeks into their campaign, and they had only raised not a lot. Like I think their budget was $25,000, maybe something like that. And they had raised like, you know, a couple $100, and they had only 2 weeks left to go. And they were sort of asking my thoughts on why that could be. This is what I would say to people who are starting an Indiegogo campaign, who are thinking about starting an Indiegogo campaign. One of the lessons that I've learned is that, okay, there's a lot of thoughts going through my head. Well, first things first, you know, your Indiegogo campaign has to look good, right? It's got to look professional, you know. I encourage people to look at mine and use it as like a ballpark template. I think that's okay. I mean, try not to copy mine verbatim, you know, make it your own, of course, right? That's important. But using the basic template and sort of kind of the structure is fine. I encourage that. It's what I did with Dylan's New Nightmare and with Never Hike Alone. You know, I looked at, not Never Hike Alone, Never Hike in the Snow. Because Never Hike Alone, I don't think had an Indiegogo campaign. I think it was Kickstarter. But anyway, and Vince and Cecil knew that, you know, and I said, you know, I'm not going to copy you verbatim, of course, because that's not, you know, it's not right. But just kind of look at the structure and the idea, because I'd never done one before. I mean, I did have an Indiegogo campaign years ago that was unsuccessful. And we'll talk about that in a second and why it was unsuccessful. So I sort of looked at what they were doing, the structure, the kind of the idea, and I was like, okay, interesting. Okay, so I kind of have like, you know, a bit of a template to keep in the back of my head. So because obviously they put a lot of time and a lot of hard work into it. Keep in mind that I announced that Bruce and I were entering into development on a Black Christmas fan film. There's a video on my channel on like July 3rd, 2019 or something like that. Some of you maybe remember the video. And it wasn't until July 4th, 2020 that we launched it. Now, we were going to launch it in April, but COVID-19 prevented that. But the point I'm making is that we spent the better part of, you know, 8 to 12 months just working on the campaign, fine-tuning it, polishing it, working on the images and the posters and the graphics and the perks and the price points and the write-ups. And, you know, it's so important that you look like you know what you're doing. You have to instill a confidence in your donors. That's really, really important. Having Indiegogo says this, and I think it's true. It just makes sense. Having a teaser trailer or video of some kind to accompany your campaign is vitally important. I think that's really important too. And of course, the better your teaser looks or whatever case, obviously that bodes well, right? Our Indiegogo teaser got near universal acclaim. I don't think I read a bad comment about it. And we worked really hard on that to deliver something that was saying, hey, imagine this, but with $60,000. So the point I'm making is that the Indiegogo campaign is your tool. It's the actor's equivalent of a headshot. It's the Indiegogo equivalent of an actor's headshot. It's the Indiegogo equivalent of a voice actor's voiceover demo. This is what people are going to see. It's got to look not okay, not pretty good. It's got to look great. It's got to look great. Has to look great. And it comes down to same with the teaser. And I'm just speaking from personal experience. I'm not talking about anybody specific. I'm not talking about anything. I'm just talking about I'm talking about the guy that messaged me and he wanted to know sort of why, and we'll get back to him in a second. But this is my experience. It's like in voiceover. Your voiceover demo can't be pretty good. That's okay. No. If you want to play with the big boys and be doing movie trailers and national ads and all this kind of stuff, your voiceover demo has to be brilliant. It's got to be great because there are hundreds of other people out there doing what you're doing. Thousands. You need to stand out. It has to be brilliant. It's the same with an Indiegogo campaign. It's got to look brilliant. It's got to look great. You know, that's really, really important. And your teaser, whatever that teaser is, whatever it is, whether it's just you talking to the camera, whether it's an actual Indiegogo type teaser like what we did, it's got to look Brilliant. And Bruce and I knew that. It's got to look great. Now, having said that, as I've said on multiple occasions, are Bruce and I at a bit of an advantage because we work in the industry and we have access to certain resources and connections that the average person doesn't? Yes, that's just a reality. But you still can make something pretty darn good on your phone or on your DSLR with a basic understanding of lenses and lighting and things like that. You can still do it. You can still do it that looks really, really good. You know what I'm saying? It's possible, but you got to take your time on it. You can't rush through it. You know, you can't rush it, right? So your Indiegogo campaign has to look great. You have to have some sort of video with it. And this guy that messaged me didn't have any video. And his campaign was, well, it wasn't, when I say flashy, I don't mean it needs to look overly produced, but it needs to look professional. And this sort of looked kind of just whipped together. So I gave him some advice, you know, and I said basically what I'm saying to you, but I compartmentalized it and said it a lot faster because I was typing. It just kind of gave him, you know, some points. Whether he'll go off and do that or not, I don't know. I mean, he's only got 2 weeks left in his campaign, so probably not. Another thing that I cannot overstate or understate or any of the above, it's so important. And I didn't realize, and of course it makes sense, like you're not thinking about it consciously, but it makes sense, is that one of the reasons, if not the main reason, why we were able to fund It's Me, Billy, is because of you guys. Now, I know I just said that a few moments ago, but hear me out. At the end of the day, if people don't believe in you, if they don't believe in you or what you're selling, they're not going to fork over their hard-earned money to help you make something possible. They're not going to do it. So having a following on YouTube or wherever you are is incredibly important. It's not personal, it's just the facts, right? If you have a bigger reach and you're not a complete dick, right? You know what I mean? But if you have a bigger reach, obviously you can reach more people and more people could potentially be interested in that. The work doesn't stop when you launch the Indiegogo campaign. The work continues. Look at all the shows I'm still talking about it, right? But look at the shows that I was doing where I was talking about the campaign and It's Me, Billy. The 2 Billy-a-thons that we had, where we had the actors on and you went for 5 hours and then 3 hours, right? And then the 2 Dudes-a-thon where we went for 3 hours, right? Where Tony put up the mask for, you know, the auction. I'm talking about on social media. I'm updating people. I'm posting about our, you know, table reads and all. You got to keep in the consciousness. You have to keep it out there. I'm posting, oh, you know, now we've hit 30%. Now we've hit 40%. Now we've hit 50%. And there's a fine line that you walk. You don't want to be annoying and you don't want to get to the point where people are like, and even though there may have been some people that were like, oh my God, Dave, shut up. You know what I mean? When you're in the middle of a fundraising campaign, there's a little bit of wiggle room there and there's a little bit of slack that people can kind of understand because, well, you're trying to raise money. And if you stop talking about it, people aren't going to, you know, and it's not really about the people who've already donated. It's about the people who've yet to donate or who are thinking about it. Right. So, but it's a fine line. You want to walk that line where you're still talking about it, but you want to give some breathing room as well. And I think we did a really good job of that. I really do. I really, really do. But the work doesn't stop when you launch the campaign. The real work, well, it's not real work. The work continues, if not more. So that's really, really important, is to keep in the consciousness of your followers and your audience and asking them to share and getting people excited. You need to get people excited to see it your way. If they don't believe in you, they're not going to donate. Now, here's the perfect example. I've had this YouTube channel since 2006. I've had it for 14 years. You guys know that. But I didn't start doing this kind of thing until about 3 years or so ago. Well, about 4 years ago, I dropped my little Halloween short, Halloween the Night He Came Back. And I tried to launch an Indiegogo campaign for that. Now, not for the whole thing, but I wanted to raise, I think, $3,000. Sounds pretty reasonable, right? 3,000 Canadian. God, that's probably like, 2,000 American. Seems like Dave should be able to do that. Well, yeah, but it was in 2016 and I only had 900 subscribers. And I wasn't putting my face out there. I wasn't uploading every day. You can't just have a YouTube channel with 900 subs or 1,000 subs or, whatever it is, or even 20, nearly, what the hell am I at now? 21.8, nearly 22, even 22,000 subs if you're not out there, if you're not speaking to your audience and developing a relationship with your audience. If you upload once a month or once every 6 months, it doesn't matter how many subs you have. Nobody cares because who is this guy? I don't know this person. He's not my friend. He's that guy that shows up at my door every now and then, but I don't really know him. You know what I mean? So it's not just about reach. It's about developing a community, building a relationship with your followers who you instill trust in. They trust you, they donate, and then you deliver. These are things that I'm learning. I mean, it makes sense. When you think about it logically, you think, well, it seems like common sense. But there's a lot of people, I think, and again, I'm not talking about anybody specific. I'm just from the guy that messaged me, he seemed a little sort of shocked. And I think sometimes people online overestimate their impact or overestimate their presence, I think. They think maybe they have more of an influence or they're more impactful than they actually are, or they're more well known than they think they are. Because I went to his page and I looked at this and I thought, he only uploads once every few weeks and he's only got 500 subs. And I'm thinking, I can tell you, I know exactly why you're not doing well, because nobody knows you. And you haven't developed a relationship with your community or your followers to instill that trust. So I think that in a lot of cases, and again, I'm not talking about anybody specific. I'm just talking about the lessons I've learned. When I launched my campaign 4 years ago, nobody knew who the hell I was. I wasn't online. I wasn't doing this kind of thing. And I raised $150 because I think a couple of guys were able to just kind of one follower came in, yeah, okay, Dave, $150, 30-day campaign, 3,000 Canadian, 4 years ago for a Halloween fan film. And at that time I was known as the Halloween fan film guy, Now there's everybody and their uncle's making a Halloween fan film, but I started making Halloween fan films in 2009. I'm like one of the OGs, Of course, now they look so, old, but what's so interesting is that fast forward 4 years to where I am now, and we made $8,000 for It's Me, Billy in one afternoon. We made 50% of our production budget, $30,000 in 5 days. Now, every campaign has ebbs and flows, and, it will slow down. The pace was not sustainable, which showed. Obviously, we slowed down right in the middle, and then we picked up at the end, and we were able to get over the hump. But the point I'm making is that when you look at where I was 4 years ago with 900 subs, nobody knew who I was. I uploaded every so often. I wasn't, well, of course not. It didn't matter how, 3,000 seemed like it would be easily achievable. It wasn't, because nobody cared. Nobody cared. And my campaign didn't look very good either, because I didn't understand what I was doing. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. I was just that'll work. Didn't work. I overestimated. So I think it's important that in some cases, and it all depends on what your budget is and what you're asking for, of course, but I think sometimes we overestimate. When I say we, I just mean in general. I'm not talking again about anybody specific, but I think sometimes people overestimate their reach or their impact. And listen, and I say that I'm not a gigantic channel. I have nearly 22,000 subs, right? I'm a big channel in the space, but I'm not a big channel, overall, not at all, and so, it's just, these are the things that I've learned. But one of the things that I think has helped me along the way is that I didn't put the cart before the horse. 4 years ago, I put the cart before the horse. And now I didn't know 4 years ago that in 2020, I was going to be making a Black Christmas fan film called It's Me, Billy. I didn't know that. But So it's not like I was doing this strategically, but I developed a following. I worked hard. I made all those videos. I'm doing all these live shows. I'm doing all this. And I developed a following that allows people, you build a community and you build trust. And then when you want to do something, people are excited for you and they back you and they want to see it too, because it's not just for you, it's for them, it's for everybody, it's for the community. So building a following, building a community is not easy, but it's vitally important to a successful Indiegogo campaign. When Vince, you know, again, I don't want to speak for Vince, but when Vince launched Never Hike Alone, I think it was a Kickstarter, it was unsuccessful. His Kickstarter was unsuccessful, but Vince was largely unknown. He wasn't online, you know. One of the reasons why Vince was able to do Never Hike in the Snow is because of Never Hike Alone, because of the, you know, the response to that. So that's important too, that if you are able to achieve your goal, then you can use that as the catalyst and the bait for if you want to do more, right? Because people see the quality of your work. So, but you know, you have to get there, and it's not easy. It's not easy, but the work doesn't stop with just launching the campaign. You don't just launch the campaign and just sit and expect people to come to it, especially when you have 500 subscribers and you upload once every 6 weeks. I mean, that's just, you know, what people don't know. It doesn't work like that. You know, you have to be on there talking about it at least a couple of times a week, you know? And I think you have to be realistic with your goals too, you know, and things like that. So, the overall arcing point that I'm trying to make is just that, you know, it's important that we don't overvalue ourselves. We don't undervalue ourselves either, but I'd rather undervalue than overvalue. Because then you can be surprised rather than disappointed. But I certainly don't, I think from what I'm seeing, especially from this guy, I think he overestimated his reach, I guess. And so build the community. You need to build a trust and a relationship with your audience, because they are the ones that are going to be donating money to your cause, or to your campaign, I should say, to your film. And if they trust you, they will donate. At the end of the day, now there are people that will do this no matter what, but at the end of the day, if they don't trust you, it doesn't matter how good, I felt like the emperor there. It doesn't matter how good your teaser trailer is. If they don't like you or don't trust you, they're not going to donate. You know, so, I can't stress enough how important that is. So to recap, have to have some sort of video, whether it's teaser or you talking. But if it's you talking, it can't be you and your teaser, whatever the teaser is, whether it's a teaser trailer, whether it's a you talking to the camera, has to be reflective of the flavor of quality that one can expect if they donate. It doesn't have to look. Listen, It's Me, Billy is going to look light years ahead of the Indiegogo teaser that we made. And the Indiegogo teaser that we made looks fucking amazing. Looks great, right? It looks really awesome, right? But that's because we deliberately rented the proper gear, you know, crafted the shots, crafted the lighting, wrote it all down, worked it all through, worked on it for several weeks, you know, to really create something that can have that feel and that vibe, because this is what you're selling. This is your demo. This is it. People don't like your demo. They can't say, I mean, how can you have something that looks subpar and go, imagine this, but I don't want to imagine that. It looks like ass. You know, I can't. They need to see something that looks really good. You know what I mean? So teaser trailer, you talking to the camera. If it's you talking to the camera, don't use the mic on the camera. Invest in some lavalier mics. You know, those are lapel mics. Okay. Invest in some sort of work on the light. Don't just have you in a brightly lit room with a blank wall behind you. Work on the lighting. Work on the exposure. You know, think about those things. Really think about what you're selling here. You're selling a product. You're the product. And you need to say, listen, we don't have all this money right now because that's why we're launching the campaign, but look at what we've been able to do with all this. And people then can go, oh yeah, hey, this looks great. This looks great, man. Yeah, great. Oh, I love that. Oh, I love the way, oh, that looks great. You know, so teaser, whatever, whether it's you or whether it's the, you know, trailer, very, 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 very important. Your Indiegogo campaign's got to look polished, got to have images, graphics, posters, write-ups, synopsis, you know, crew, cast, if you're able to do that. Again, that's something too that there's two ways that you can do it. Sometimes people launch Indiegogo campaigns and they don't have a crew and they don't have a cast. And that's fine. There's no right or wrong way because sometimes you need the money in order to get the crew and the cast. The way we structured our Indiegogo campaign was we hired a bit of the crew and the cast first to show how serious we were. You know what I mean? And you see a lot of campaigns do that, and that's fine. And then make sure your graphics reflect the professionalism that you're trying to create. Take the time, learn Photoshop, you know, look at mine as a template, right? Don't copy exactly mine, but you know, you look at mine as sort of inspiration, right? And you go on from there and you spend time on it. You really craft it and spend time on it because you want to raise that money, you know, and you want to be able to showcase to people, this is, you know, this is what we're all about here. This is what we're doing. And they need to see that you're serious. And if they see sort of half thrown together images and graphics and write-ups and stuff that looks like it was thrown together overnight, you know, it shows. It shows. It's like when I hear, you know, there are sometimes aspiring VO actors will send me their demos and I can tell it was recorded in a fucking bathroom. I mean, I'm like, why is it echoey? I can hear stops and starts and hiss and clicks and, you know, and I'm like, this is terrible. This is terrible, you know? And I tell them that. I say, you know, with all due respect, I don't want to deter you from pursuing your dream, but this is terrible, you know, but here's why. Here's why. And then I point them in, you know, a direction that, you know, can save them, hopefully. But you don't want to do that. Like, you don't want to be in a position saying, hey, here's me. And everyone goes, ugh, you know? I mean, we spent a year working on our Indiegogo campaign. So really, really important. It's got to look polished. It's got to look professional. And you have to have some sort of visual aid with it, whether it's a teaser trailer or you speaking, talking to the viewers or what have you. And then the third thing is you can't be out of sight, out of mind. You have to continue to nurture the relationship that you have with your audience, no matter how big or small your audience is. I don't care if it's 500 subscribers. I don't care if it's, you know, 22,000 subscribers. You have to nurture the relationship with your audience. That doesn't mean that this guy who only had 500 subs was going to make his money. Probably not. But he's certainly not going to make it by just throwing up his Indiegogo campaign and not uploading a video to his channel like once every 3 or 4 weeks. I mean, you can't do that. You have to be talking to people. You have to be sharing on social media. You got to be posting on Killer Flicks or wherever, any of the other you have to be out there. Right? You have to show people you're serious. You have to show people you're serious. So those are the 3 major lessons that I've learned from Indiegogo. Visual aid in the form of a teaser or you selling, you know, the whole idea. The campaign's got to look professional, polished, legit. It's got to look legit. And number 3 is you have to continue to talk about it on your channel, your social media, but walk that fine line. You don't want to be too annoying. You know, you want to talk about other things too, but you want to have that fine line and not be out of sight, out of mind, you know, because you have to really, and sometimes maybe it's best for certain people because they overestimate their value and impact maybe on the space is to, you know what? Take your time and develop a following. Take your time and develop a relationship, you know, work on your YouTube channel and your community. And then a year down the road, you might have gone from 500 subs to 2,500 subs. Maybe. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but maybe, right? And then you're like, oh, hang on, I'm kind of in a little bit of a better spot here. You know what I mean? So it's just really, really, really important. Anyway, that's my advice. Those are a few of the things that I've learned that have helped me through this. And I just want to say again, thank you to everybody who has donated to the Indiegogo campaign, of course, which is over now. It's been over for 2 weeks, but we are neck deep in pre-production. I wish we were in post-production. That'd be so much fun. But we are neck deep in pre-production right now. So, yeah. So again, I wasn't talking about anybody specific in a general sense. I was talking about that guy that sent me a message, but I told him that I wouldn't mention his name, and he was cool with me talking about it on here. So, yeah, just really work on the details and the nuances, because you don't want to spend all that energy and time and then not do it right, you know? Doesn't mean you can never launch another one, but you only have, there's that old saying, right? You only get one shot to make a first impression. So it's, that's very important. Let's see, I think one super chat came in. One super chat from Justin Simonson. Thank you, Justin. Says, hey, Dave, just want to say thanks for inspiring me to make my own fan film. Amazing. It's a Halloween fan film called Jamie's Escape. Ooh. It's 35 years after the events of 4 and Michael's after Jamie in Smith's Grove. Well, amazing. That's so cool, man. Good luck with it. Good luck with it. Good luck with it. Let's see what you guys are saying. Jack Carter says, Dave, what's your favorite? Post-production filming or post-production filming or post-production? I think you mean pre-production filming or post-production. I'm going to assume that's what you meant. I would say, well, every stage has its excitement. When you are in development when you're in the development, okay, let's walk through the stages. There's development, there's pre-production, there's production, there's post-production, and then there's distribution. And I would say for me, every stage has their excitement. But I think the most exciting for me, post-production. And that might be kind of funny for some people, because they're like, wouldn't the filming of the movie be the most exciting? Yes, but it can be the most stressful. It can be the most tedious, because you're not, although you want to have fun when you're shooting and you want it to be fun, you're on a time crunch, you're always mindful of the time, you're setting up, you're working with the actors. It's very structured in the sense of course, every stage is. But I mean, it's very sort of, you're not just fucking off every 5 seconds, right? It's all about getting the vision and working with the actors and the camera and this, and it can be fun, but it can be very stressful, but it's the good kind of stressful, if you know what I mean? Anyway, but I think my favorite, and it is great, filming would be great. Principal photography is great. But I think my favorite is post-production, because that's when you start to see everything come together. And that's when you start to add, the film comes to life, right? There's that old saying that there's 3 movies that you make. There's the movie you imagine, which is development. There's the movie you shoot, which is production. And then there's the movie that you edit, which is post-production. And, everything that Bruce and I have imagined is definitely going to look different when it comes to the editing of the movie, to some degree. The great thing about what Bruce and I have done is we've spent a lot of time making sure that we are on the same page with our vision. And there have been certain times where he will say something and I'll say something and we'll be like, oh, and I'll be like, oh, I imagined her walking over here and then down there. And he was like, oh, that's how you imagined it? Oh, I imagined her walking up there and over here. And we're like, okay. And it's not a big deal in the big picture, but it's a good thing we figured that out now, because we don't want to get to set and then be like, and then we got to spend all this time rearranging the shot or the scene or thinking about how we feel about that or, whatever. And that could take an hour. So, so it's so important to be on the same page, but I would say probably post-production is my favorite out of them all, because that's when you start to see the movie come to life through its editing, through its sound design, through its music, through its color grading, through its, teaser trailers and things like that, when you start to advertise and stuff. And then distribution is probably the most nerve-wracking. Obviously, we're not going to be distributing It's Me, Billy theatrically. It will be online, but that's still distribution. It's a form of distribution. So when we get to our distribution stage, that'll be, the nerves will be there. Then I can already feel it now because it's like, this is it. This is it. We're letting the baby go. You know what I mean? So, but filming is great too. Filming's a lot of fun. A lot of fun too. Let's see here. Super sticker comes in from Anna M. Pops. Thank you so much, Anna. She's giving me a fist bump. Fist bump to you too, Anna. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate that. Let's see here. DMT Infinity says, when are we going to get Michael Myers versus Billy versus Dave McRae versus Freddy versus Chucky versus Pinhead versus Jason versus Annabelle versus Godzilla versus Tony Michael versus Frank Riker versus Intel Wild versus Tabitha Short? Well, that's the next one. That's the next one we're doing. We are doing all of that. It's going to be an epic, like Avengers sort of, Avengers Assemble kind of thing. It's going to be wild. It's going to be wild. That's funny. Let's see here. Good Real Hunting says, are you and Bruce doing the editing yourselves? We are. Yeah, we're doing all the, Bruce will be over here. How it's probably going to work is obviously we don't live together. So usually how we work is because I'm set up to do it. Obviously I have everything I need to do it. It's what I do. I've been doing it for years, especially with sound. So yes, we will edit here. How it will work is once we start the editing process, I will start assembling the clips together so we can get our assembly edit. An assembly edit is essentially the first sort of, we've assembled kind of a rough edit of what we want. And when I start to assemble that together, then the next time Bruce comes over, he'll come over and I will show him what I pieced together to get his thoughts on it. And then he'll be like, yeah, I really like what, yes, okay, yeah, I'm liking this. And then maybe he'll be like, I don't know, I think we should linger on that a beat longer. You know what? I think we should move away from that just a hair faster. Why don't we use that shot instead of that shot? Like he'll give me his thoughts and then we work together on that. You know what I mean? So we are going to edit it together. I will be designing the sound. I'll be doing all the sound design. It's what I do for a living for all intents and purposes. I work with sound and voice and all that kind of stuff. So I'm comfortable, obviously, doing that. I did all the sound for the Indiegogo teaser. So I'm totally confident that I can achieve that. We're a bit of jack of all trades, and independent filmmaking that can come in handy too, because you don't have to spend a lot of time or you have to spend a lot of time and money, of course, on other roles. Now, some people have asked who is going to be scoring the film. Well, the thing with this is that we have had several composers reach out to us inquiring about scoring It's Me, Billy. What we want to do, however, is we've politely declined and appreciated their interest, because you never know that we might want to reach out to them in the future. But for It's Me, Billy, because again, we are emulating the vibe and the flavor and the spirit of the original film, the original Black Christmas didn't really have a score per se. There was no real instrumental score. It was more soundscape, and the vast majority of the movie, when it comes to the creepy, eerie things with Billy, are those piano scrapes. And there might be a few other little things in there as well. As a matter of fact, I know there is. But there isn't like this score that you have in like Friday the 13th or A Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween or something like that. It's non-existent. It's really all about like mood and atmosphere. There I go, mood and atmosphere. But the soundscape and things like that. Well, that's something that I can do, and that I've done many, many times. And I have libraries on my computer full of original stuff like that. Like on my computer, I have there's 2 folders. I want to say I have about 17,000 sound effects and Foley and all that kind of stuff. And I have all sorts of sounds and design and soundscape and stuff, like all original stuff. So I will be doing that. So I'll be doing all the sound and the score for all intents and purposes, but it's not really a score. It's more of just this. If you watch Black Christmas, the original from 1974, that is pretty much what you're going to get in It's Me, Billy. Now, we may add our own little kind of stamp to it, of course, but it'll be in that vibe. It'll be in that flavor. So there is no instrumental score per se in It's Me, Billy. So yeah, but yeah, we're handling a lot of the post-production, and we're confident that we can do that. We did it with the Indiegogo teaser. No issues there at all. And we've done it many times before in our lives. So Jack Carter sends in a £1.99. Thank you very much. Super Pound. Hey, Super Pound. I can call them Super Pounds. Your dad would be proud of what you're doing. Thank you, Jack, for saying that. That means a lot. I think he would too. I think both my mom and dad would. You know, it's I think about them a lot. I'm actually going to, I have this photo here of my mom. This is a photo. Some of you have seen it actually in some photos that I posted of my studio, but this is my mother. Oh, the photo's kind of crooked a bit, but anyway, this is my mom. This is from 2009. This is from 2009, but this is 2 years before she passed away. She was 67 when she passed, so she was 65 here. And I put it in this frame that she got me many, many years ago. And it says, all things are possible for those who believe. It's kind of nice. It's a nice thing. As I get older in life, I realize that yes, all things are possible for those who believe, but you can't just believe. You got to get off. You have to get off your ass and also make something happen too. You can't just go, I believe, and then somehow it's just going to show up. You do have to sort of make shit happen too. But nonetheless, I do believe, because I have believe on my wrist right here too. Right there, believe, etched in stone. So very important to me, and this is my mom in that frame. There she is there. There's the ma. Hello, mother.
Hello, mother. How are you doing, mother?
That's my mom, folks. That's Patricia Jean Hunt was her full name when she was born, and then she became Patricia McRae, of course. But Patricia Hunt was her name. So, yes. And then my dad, well, I think you've seen pictures of my dad. I don't have one immediately at my disposal here, but my dad's not hard to find online. So, yeah. And thank you very much for saying that. I really, really appreciate that, buddy. Let me see. David Lee Barron sends in a $4.99 super chat and says, pop quiz, Mr. Pichet. Okay, I'm ready. Which movie does the line, you call Rustin ass-kicking Beach appear in? The Goofy movie, Halloween Resurrection. You call Rustin ass kicking beach? You call Rustin ass kicking beach. Well, I would, the Goofy movie, it seems like something that wouldn't be in the Goofy. Is it in Halloween? I don't remember it in Halloween. I'm going to go with Halloween Resurrection because that seems like an odd line to have in the Goofy movie. Maybe I'm wrong. I have no idea. I mean, maybe things are, I don't know. Gypsy Warrior says, Dave, your mom reminds me of Miss Marple. I think she'd take that as a compliment. Some people have even said that especially my mom's demeanor and the way she was. My mom was a big fan of Murder, She Wrote and Angela Lansbury. And there's definitely, now my mom was very short. My mom was only like 5 feet tall, 5'1", but there's definitely a little bit of Angela Lansbury going on there. My mom loved Murder, She Wrote. Sometimes I'd sit and watch it with her. And you know what? There were some pretty good fucking episodes of Murder, She Wrote. I'm just saying. Some pretty good fucking mysteries. I don't think I missed it. No, I didn't. Okay, cool. That's funny. Anna M. Pop sends in a £10.99 super pound from Anna. Thank you very much. It's me, Billy, maybe for Dave and Bruce what Halloween was for Carpenter. Well, I don't know about that. It all starts with little budget and loots of passion. You never know. I wish you guys the best of luck. Thank you, Anna. Really, really appreciate that. You know, you don't know. I mean, look, it's a fan film, but it's a fan film because of its category, because we don't own the intellectual property. We don't own Black Christmas and all that kind of stuff. So it's not something that we can commercialize or make, sell it to Amazon Prime or, to Netflix or something. We can't do that. But, the work and the quality of the movie, I think, is going to speak for itself. And you never know what could happen from that. If it's really, really good, and people really enjoy it. I mean, again, not everybody's going to like it. Not everybody's going to like it. And that's not me saying, get ready, it's going to be awful. No, that's just me saying that's the nature of movies. Not everybody likes everything. The goal is that hopefully more people like it than not, right? But you're right, Anna. You never know. You never know what could happen. Crazier things have happened. I mean, who knows who's going to see it, really like it? I mean, the dream would be something like, somebody sees it and says, hey, we want you to do this. Like, we want you to turn this into a feature and just actually do this. And then at that point, as I've said on this channel before, I'd say, great. I only have one stipulation. That is, I guess maybe two. And I don't know if they would do this, but we maintain a certain level of creative control over the story. And we bring everybody on board that was there. Now, obviously, if you were to do a feature and expand it and make it a real movie in the sense that it becomes official, it's going to be a real movie, but I mean, in the sense of it being official, you know what I mean? Then obviously the crew would get bigger and the cast might get a bit, I don't know, cast might get a bit bigger, but certainly I would want to bring everybody over that worked on it. I would want to bring Victoria over and Greg over and Shelby and Malika and everybody, and then we just kind of add to that, because it wouldn't feel right. It wouldn't feel right to then just kind of say, oh, okay, great, we're going to do it all over again, but not with them. You know what I mean? And, that would be the only thing that I would be concerned of, or concerned about. But you never know. Crazier things have happened. We are working our asses off to deliver something special for you guys. Let me just say that. David Lee Barron says, I was sugarcoating the line because Super Chats won't allow cursing. Really? Super Chats won't allow cursing? Oh, for fuck's sakes. Fuck you, YouTube. There you go. It was the line Busta Rhymes said to Sarah in a deleted scene. Okay, that's what I thought, because there's also one where it's like, you ball-busting bitch, or something like that. It's like, what the hell? Why? What? I don't understand it. It's lame. It's lame, ladies and germs. It's lame. Oliver Mercer says, hey, Dave, regarding happy accidents with possible thunder lightning strikes, happy ascendants with possible thunder lightning strikes. Would you keep it in for it's me? But happy, I'm not quite sure what you're asking, Oliver. Lightning strikes. Can you be a little more clear what you mean, Oliver? And I'll be happy to answer it. Crystal Lake Counselor 1977 says, hi, Dave. In H78, it seems Michael broke into the store to steal the mask before Lori goes to school. Oh, yeah, this question. Why does Brackett begin to investigate 8 hours later when school ends with the alarm and make a mistake? Mistake? I don't think it's a mistake. I think it's just a error that they didn't think about. And now you can say, well, that's a mistake. Well, but nobody, I mean, yes, I guess from a certain point of view, it's a mistake, but but then it becomes about probability, right? Is there a high probability that the alarm would not be ringing well into the afternoon? Yes. Yes, there's a high probability that the alarm would not be ringing well into the afternoon. But here's the thing. We don't know if the alarm was ringing. Maybe the alarm was triggered when the cops went inside. Maybe the owner realized in the morning when they came in that the door was broken and somebody had made their way in, but the alarm was not going off. So she called the police or something. The police came, there's been an investigation. And then through their investigation, somebody accidentally triggered the alarm. We just show up on it already going, and we think it's been doing that for 8 hours, but really it's only been doing it for 5 minutes. And they're trying to figure out how to turn it off. I mean, hey, there's something nobody thinks about, right? Now, obviously in the story, it's probably meant to symbolize that, yeah, it's been going off because somebody broke in. But yeah, it's more of a continuity thing. I mean, a mistake, yeah, I guess, but it is what it is. It is what it is. I can tell you 25 years ago, nobody thought about this stuff, but now people are like analyzing everything with that fine-tooth comb, right? But yeah, I mean, from a certain point of view, a mistake, I guess, yes, but I mean, okay. So it was going off for 8 hours. I don't know. But yes, there is a continuity issue there. Gypsy Warrior says, Dave, I hope you weren't offended by my comment. No, not at all. I meant it as a compliment. Your comment about my mom? Or sorry, my dad? No, why would I be offended by your comment? You said that, I think you're the one that said that my dad would be proud of me, right? I agreed. Yeah, my dad would be proud of me. What made you think that I would have been offended by that? I thought it was a great comment. No, I meant it as a compliment. Yeah. I think that was your comment, right? I think maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was something else. Also, what stage do reshoots take place in? Thanks for being awesome. Generally speaking, reshoots likely take place during, well, it depends, because it depends on the scale of film you're working on. I mean, if you're working on a gigantic Marvel movie or a Star Wars movie, post-production will often run simultaneously with production because the movie is so grand and there's so many visual effects shots and there's so many things that need to be done in post-production that there are times that an assembly edit is being put together while they're still shooting the movie. They're kind of working simultaneously so that by the time they get officially to post-production and the movie is wrapped, they're already well into post-production and they already have a leg up. And that's largely because of all the visual effects shots and all the compositing and the mapping and all the work that has to go into creating the thousands among thousands of visual effects shots. You could never just shoot the movie and then start all that and make your release date. It would just take too long. Shooting a drama or something like that where there's no visual effects shots and it's all just character and exposition and all that kind of stuff, you could probably shoot a whole movie and then start post production and still make your release date. So it really depends. And when it comes to reshoots, same sort of thing. Reshoots generally happen in post-production. And the reason for that is because unless there's something that happens on set that you realize, oh, we're not going to be able to, we need to get this again. We're going to have to reshoot that, but we can't take the time doing that now because we're already, behind. We gotta keep going here. Right. So they take note of that, and know that when they go out for reshoots, that's the first thing on the list that they need to reshoot potentially. And the other reason is because you generally don't know what you need until you've had a good look at the movie. And that comes in post-production. When you get the movie into the editing software, you start looking at all the shots, you start looking at what you have, what you don't have, and then lists are made of things that you might need to go out and reshoot. So generally speaking, I would say during the post-production process, but sometimes those things are made aware of when you watch the dailies, and the dailies simply are what you've shot that day. That's what the dailies, the things you've shot that day. So for example, Bruce and I and crew and the cast of It's Me, Billy will shoot all day. And then in the evening after we've had dinner or something like that, Bruce and I and Greg, it'll be myself and Bruce and Greg and his camera team for sure. The actors can be there too if they want, but definitely the five of us, because it's myself and Bruce and there's Greg and his two camera assistants. At the very most, or the very least, it would be us. And we would look at the dailies and we would look at what we've shot that day. How does it look? How did it turn out? Is there something we think we need to reshoot? You know what I mean? So you make note of that as well. And if there's time, you can reshoot something while you're actually in the middle of production, if there's time and money allows for it. But in a lot of cases, especially when you're working on Marvel films and DC films and Star Wars films and Star Trek, films that have big, effects budgets, you generally don't have the time to do that. And you have to wait till the movie's all done and then dip into the reshoot budget and start coordinating that. So it's not an exact science. There are a lot of variables and there are a lot of moving parts, but generally speaking, it would happen in post-production after they've had a chance to see what they've shot. And so they can know what they need to reshoot. Hopefully that answers your question for you. Let me see here. Oh, I got that. David Lee Barron says, Dave, do you believe in demonic possessions? Or is it all nothing but a serious mental illness? I know this is a loaded question, but I value your insights. Well, I think I'm somebody, like I said, I do believe, because of my personal experience, that there is something beyond death. Now, when I say that, I don't mean that to say that it is a Christian thing or a Muslim thing or, what have you. I mean that more from a scientific perspective, but also not supernatural, but I do believe that there is a high probability that consciousness survives death. But what that is, I don't believe that in the Hollywood sense, like we die and all of a sudden we wake up and we're consciously aware and we're walking around, but we're floating. Like, the movie Ghost or something like that. I don't believe that's very sort of nice in Hollywood. But I do believe that there is something to consciousness and awareness. And that may, because there's circumstantial evidence to support this, by the way, scientifically, that consciousness does survive the process of death, at least for a little bit. We know this to be true, actually. How much, how long, we don't know. I mean, maybe it only survives for 5 minutes. You know what I mean? We don't know. So because of my feelings on that, and I do believe that there is something beyond this reality. I do believe that. What that exactly is, I don't know. I try not to think too Hollywood about it, because Hollywood tends to put images in our heads of what that is. You know what I mean? And then we go along thinking that that's what it's like. And it's probably, if there is life after death, so to speak, it probably is nothing like what Hollywood says it is. That's why I dive more into the consciousness and awareness, because that's what makes us aware of who we are, and that's who we are. That's how that's how I'm able to talk to you. It's how I'm able to be aware of who I am and the fact that I have arms and I'm alive and things like that. And if you get rid of that consciousness and awareness, you ultimately cease to exist. So I'm more fascinated in that area. But again, because I believe that in that, and that I'm all into that, I do believe that there is a possibility that there could be something demonic or strange going on with people. But I'm not a religious person. I'm not a Christian. I was never raised in that kind of a family. I don't believe in God in the ways that Christians do. So I don't necessarily, believe in the devil and demons and things like that. So I'm not saying that there aren't unusual stories and things that are really kind of very interesting. I'm not saying that. So I do think there is, in a lot of cases, I think there has to be some cases of demonic possession that are in fact just mental illness. I believe that to be true. And so, yeah, I think it's because there are a lot of mentally ill people out there, and there's evidence of this, that you would think that they were possessed by the devil. I mean, it can get crazy. It can get really crazy. I feel the same way about psychics. I actually do believe that there is a high probability that there are some psychics and mediums out there that do possess some sort of gift. I hate that word, but some sort of ability where they can tap into a level of consciousness that we have been unable, that we all might be able to do, but for whatever reason they can do it. But I don't believe that every psychic and every medium is legit, because it's so easy to replicate and fake as well in a little thing called cold reading. And if you are a great cold reader, which I don't profess to be, but if I was a great cold reader, I could have you believing that I'm talking to your dead relatives like that, because there's a psychology around it. And because that's very easy to replicate, you know what I mean? It's kind of hard, but I do believe that there could be. So I kind of feel the same way in that regard. Hopefully that made sense, David. Great question, though, by the way. But hopefully that made sense. Ian Allen James sends in a super chat and says, I like to believe they were installing the alarm after they found out. After they found out, someone broke in and they were testing it. It helps my OCD deal with it. Well, there you go. Perfect. Ryan O'Neill says, Dave, have to watch Rocky on Two Dudes at some point. Oh, it'll come. It'll eventually come. Robert Thidoff says, Dave, how much sleep do you expect to get during filming week? Not very much. It's going to be a tough week. We were talking about that last night with Greg, and Greg was saying that when he's shooting a film and he's working on where there's night shoots, which there are. And look, I mean, in an ideal scenario, we would love to be able to blacken out all the windows in this mansion and shoot the interiors that are supposed to happen at night, but shoot it during the day, which you can do. You can definitely do that. But this is a 13 bedroom mansion with all sorts of windows all over the place. It's just not possible. I mean, it's much easier to shoot at night. And what's so great too is that the owners of the house will not be there. And that's wonderful. So the owners of the house are actually going away for the week, and we have the run of the house. So we can, we don't have to worry about being quiet at certain times or whatever. Because that was one of the things we were concerned about is, are we going to be able to shoot overnight? Because there are a lot of night scenes. Or are we going to have to shoot during the day and blacken out these, 50 windows, you know what I mean? That are like the size of, that are 10 feet tall. And the answer to that is no. So yeah, we're definitely going to be shooting overnight. But Greg was saying, yeah, when he shoots overnight, he usually just has a bunch of coffee and he's just up all night. And I'm like, wow. But that's what it's going to be. And there's going to be a lot of sleeping during the day when we make the switch. And there's also that switch, because the first few days of filming are day scenes, and then we make that switch. And it's that switch that's going to be sort of a little bit of jet lag-ish, I think, for some people. But, we'll do it, right? We're going to build a team, and a family there. And the good news is that it's essentially one location. So, we don't have to pack up and move all over the place, which helps to cut down on cost and time as well. So, but not very much, Robert, not very much. Freshy Thrashy says, I like to think when we die, we become more advanced beings our former selves can understand. It's a really cool way to look at it, man. And you, as Dr. Loomis would say, you may be right. You may be right. Jeff Harris sends in a $4.99 super chat. Thanks, Jeff. Says, hey, Dave, I had a debate with my friend yesterday about who is the more iconic villain, Darth Vader or the Joker. Who do you think it is? The most iconic villain would be Darth Vader, hands down. Darth Vader the Joker is iconic, 100%. But Darth Vader has transcended pop culture. The Joker is very niche-y. Darth Vader, I think, is more has a more broader appeal, is more broadly appealed to. Of course, unless you're in China, where Star Wars doesn't go very well. But I would say that at the end of the day, it would be Darth Vader because of its broader mass appeal, because of its pop culture footprint and impact. Just that alone. Now, that's not me saying that Joker doesn't have broad appeal or pop culture footprint. Of course the Joker has. But I think Darth Vader is more impactful in that regard. And Joker has spent more time in the comics than he ever has on screen. And, we've only got a couple, and there's been a couple of iterations of the Joker. There was Jack in 1989, and then we didn't see the Joker again on screen in terms of live action until I think it was The Dark Knight. So like another, almost 20 years, I think, the Joker is iconic, but Darth Vader is but again, it depends on what do you mean by iconic, right? What's the measuring bar, right? Because we know what iconic means. Iconic but what's the measuring stick? Because there could be certain areas you measure where the Joker comes out on top. And there could be there's definitely certain areas that you would measure where Darth Vader comes out on top. So it kind of depends on what you mean by iconic. And then once you can define what we're talking about in this sense of iconic, then we can kind of put two and two together. But it could be like, who's the more iconic villain when it comes to comics? Well, that would be the Joker, hands down. Right? Like, I mean, you know what I mean? So it kind of like, what's our measuring stick, But I think overall, yeah, I think it's Darth Vader. Matthew Mills says, Dave, will you play us your EVP recording? I will eventually. Yes, I definitely will. Let me see. Jeff Harris sends in a super chat and says, I meant I had a debate. Anyways, keep rocking. I got it, man. I got what you said. Let's see here. Robert Kitzmiller just sends in a $5 super chat. Thank you very much, Robert. Appreciate that. Chris Carter says, friends and I are filming a short 2 to 3 minute fan film this weekend. Any tips of words of caution? Well, I don't know what it is you're filming. I don't know what you're filming on. I don't know what your expectations are. I would just say have fun. Have fun and work on crafting your lighting, crafting your shots. Don't just point and shoot and walk around. Think about your framing. Think about where your subjects are in your framing. Don't be afraid that when you're shooting a conversation, if there's a conversation, shoot the conversation once as a wide shot with 2 people in it, so there's a master shot, and then shoot the conversation again, close-ups. So shoot the conversation again from this person's perspective, and then shoot the conversation again from this person's perspective. And then in post-production, you edit that together. So you have the wide shot, and then you can bounce between the 2 people as they're having the conversation. If you're shooting on your phone and you're just using the mic from your phone, clearly it's still going to look and sound amateur, but the way you piece it together will be a little more visually interesting. Rather, I see so many fan films and so many amateur films of people shooting on their phones, and they'll shoot a conversation or a whole scene from one shot. They'll just be like, okay, go. And I'm thinking to myself, shoot it from that perspective, yes, but then understand that you're going to want to shoot this scene or this conversation 3 or 4 times from 3 or 4 different angles, and then you can cut and splice it together in post production. It's the only way you can do it unless you have 3 or 4 cameras set up. And that was one of the things that we were talking about with Greg last night. If we had more than $60,000, because our camera package alone is, expensive. But in Hollywood, what they do, of course, is on a major film, they would have like 3 cameras set up, and they would be shooting the master, but they would also be shooting the close-ups at the exact same time. And they would run through the scene 2 or 3 times, or however many takes they needed to get it right. So don't be afraid if you're shooting on your phone or whatever to shoot the scene a couple of different times from a couple of different angles. Again, it may still look amateur or home movie, but at least it'll look more visually appealing. It's like, oh, fuck, they went in for some close-ups. All right. So pay attention to that kind of stuff. Evil Alex says, do you believe Ed and Lorraine Warren in their cases? Yeah, somebody asked me this last week or the week before. I watched many interviews and videos about them. They seem honest and legit for me. I don't know. I don't know. I really have no idea. I have no idea. Somebody appearing legit is always good. You always want people to appear legit, but I really have no idea at the end of the day. Aaron Click says, Dave, are you and Bruce participating in any stretch goals campaign for It's Me, Billy? Are we participating in any, or are we doing any? I did help to back Vince's recent post-production campaign for Never Hike in the Snow. Is that what you mean? Are we supporting any others, or are we going to be launching a campaign are we doing? Probably, maybe. We'll see where we are once the movie is finished and we move into post-production, and then we'll start figuring that out. There may be like what Vince did for Never Hike in the Snow. We might launch like a 2-week campaign to help raise a little bit of extra. which is, not a bad idea, actually. But we'll cross that bridge when it comes. We're still a little bit away from that at the moment. We're just focusing on right now the production of the film. And we've raised enough so we can do that at the very least. Okay, a couple more minutes here, folks, and then I have to skedaddle. I have getting my eyes checked today. DMT Infinity says inaudibly. Indubitably. Is that what you're trying to say? Indubitably. That's what you're trying to say. Indubitably, I think is what you're trying to say. Yeah, but it's also so much fun shooting different angles and acting the same scenes over and over. I genuinely enjoy it because ever since I was a kid, I was big into acting and playing. Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, listen, you can shoot on your phone. You can use the mic from your phone. Temper your expectations, but just remember, think about what you're shooting. Don't just point and shoot. Think about it. Think about how movies look, Think about framing your subject, And when you shoot them, maybe you're shooting them across the table. Frame them on one side of the table so you get a bit of the background in the back as they're talking past the camera, right? Think about those things. You can really improve the production value of your amateur film just by thinking about where to place your subjects and how you're shooting and camera angles and lighting. It's amazing what can happen in that regard. Anna M. Pops sends in a $5.49 super pound and says, for Veda, she is a good kitty. My cat is all over my desk whenever I'm at it. Veda is a very good cat. She never jumps up here. She never jumps up on the counter. I can leave a bowl of tuna fish out where I've just finished it, right? And certainly she could smell it and she never touches it. No, she never touched it. She loves tuna fish, but it's like I've trained her in a certain way where she never jumps up on the counter. She never jumps up onto on here at all. I mean, she did, I have to admit, when I first got her, she did. There were a couple times I'd walk in and I'd see her up here and I'd be like, Veda, but a couple of times of that reinforcement of that's not what you're supposed to do. She knows. And this kind of thing too. Air canister. If she's, about to do something about her, I just go, and just a little bit of that sound. She's like, ah, and she runs away. And it's that reinforcement, right? It's the classical conditioning, so she knows, oh, I better not jump up there because I'm going to hear this weird sound. You know what I mean? So, yeah. It's good stuff. All right, folks, listen, that's going to do it for me on episode. Oh, wait, we got Chris Carter here. Chris, my man, Chris says, friends and I are filming. Oh, Chris, I already answered. Oh, Chris, that was you. Oh, geez, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was you, Chris. I didn't know that was you. Did I say Chris Carter when I answered your super chat? I must have. For some reason, I didn't put two and two together. Chris, yeah, you're the same guy we've worked together before on the VO stuff. Right. Well, maybe you're shooting on something that's higher than your phone, because obviously you would probably have the access to certain resources where you're probably shooting on something that's pretty good. I don't want to overassume, but I would imagine that you may have that capability. Nonetheless, same thing applies, right? Same thing applies. It's just to pay attention to the lighting and the camera angles and just really think about those shots. Really craft those shots. Pays dividends in the end, man. Really does. Yeah, I think we are just an iPhone. Okay, just an iPhone. Hey, doesn't matter, man. You can. I think Steven Soderbergh has shot some recent feature films on iPhones, and of course he's probably done a lot of post on it. But nonetheless, okay, cool, awesome stuff. All right, yeah, that's gonna do it for me for episode 103 of McRae Live. You guys are amazing. Thanks to my moderators, of course, Frank Riker, Tab of the Short, Darren Sands, and Jason Knight for doing what you guys do. I will be back tomorrow at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time for episode 104. It's hard to believe we're up to 104 already. Dogs rule, cats drool. I like dogs too. I do. Yeah, so have a great rest of your Thursday, and I will talk to you guys soon. Alrighty. And as I always say, in the meantime and in between time, I will talk to you soon. Cheers.